On the news, Atiku declares readiness to lead coalition against President Tinubu. President Tinubu bids French ambassador farewell. And TCN disconnects Ajaokuta over 33 billion naira electricity debt. Federal government begins probe. It's a pleasure to have you join us on News Now on TV 360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkulie. In a series of rulings, the Supreme Court brings closure to dispute over the March 2023 governorship elections in 8 states. Noteworthy outcomes include the reinstatement of ousted governors in Kano and Plateau, an affirmation of victories in Lagos, Bauchi, Zamfara, Abia, and Ebonyi states. The decisions underscores the Apex Court's final authority in settling electoral disputes. Our correspondent Folashade Olusegun gives a detailed breakdown of the judgment.
In a decisive move to settle the long-standing disputes stemming the March 2023 governorship elections, the Supreme Court today delivered its verdict in 8 states, bringing clarity to the contested outcome that has traversed the legal hierarchy. Notably, Kano and Plateau states captured attention as the Apex Court reinstated the upstate governors, affirming Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf in Kano and Governor Caleb Mufang in Plateau states. The 5-member panel, led by Justice Inyang Okoro, declared that both the tribunal and the appeal court has held in their decisions to remove the governors. Challenges to Yusuf's victory in Kano by All Progressives Congress candidates Alhaji Nasiru Yusuf Gawuna and Mufang's victory in Plateau State by Nitawe Yawanda, also of the APC, were dismissed by the Supreme Court. In Lagos State, the court rejected the appeals filed by People's Democratic Party and Labour Party against the election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Obafemi Amsat. Justice Mohammed Garba and Adamu Jaro asserted that both appeals lacked merit.
It's not an APC victory. It's not a Babajide Sanwo-Olu victory. It's a Lagos call in action for all of us to work for the citizens, to improve the lot of Lagosians, and to make meaningful development for our people. At the end of the day, people want, to see good roads. People want to see security everywhere in the state. People want to see hospitals and schools being built. That's what people want, and that's what we preach, and that's what we're going to do.
Similarly, the Supreme Court upheld this election of Bala Mohammed in Bauchi State, dismissing an appeal by the APC and its candidate Sadiq Abubakar, challenging the outcome of the 2023 governorship election. The Apex Court set aside November 16 judgment of the Court of Appeal voiding the election of Governor Dauda Lawan in Zamfara State. Justice Emmanuel Agin ruled that the trial tribunal correctly affirmed Lawan's elections, deeming the Court of Appeal's decision as lacking evidential foundation. Furthermore, the Supreme Court affirmed Alex Oti as the duly elected governor of Abia State, dismissing the appeal by Sandy Honor, a candidate of People's Democratic Party, against Basi Oto's election. In a unanimous judgment, the court upheld Governor Francis Nwuforo's election in Ebonyi State, dismissing the appeal of Chukwuma Odil Ifeanyi of the People's Democratic Party for lacking merits. With these rulings, the Supreme Court brings closure to the protracted legal battles and reaffirms the outcomes of key governorship elections across the country. Folashade Olusegun, TV 360, Abuja.
Still on the Supreme Court judgment, in a recent interview on our flagship program DG 360, legal expert Liberus Oshoma weighed in on the ongoing dispute in Lagos State, particularly highlighting the case of Ruth Vival, the Labour Party candidate in the 2023 gubernatorial election. According to Oshoma, a court ruling clarified that holding dual citizenship does not hinder one's eligibility to be a state governor as long as they were born in Nigeria. Expressing his perspective, Oshoma emphasized the need to bring an end to political litigation, urging politicians to gracefully accept defeat.
I think to a very large extent there should be an end to electoral litigation. I told somebody earlier on that the politicians should learn to accept defeat at the polls. This idea of going to court. I also would want to encourage INEC to ensure that as much as they can, to elevate the practice of electoral transparency to a very high level so that it will breed trust in the process. That is what is breeding this attitude of going to court, wasting a lot of money on litigation, fishing for evidence and looking for loopholes to ventilate your frustration on your cases, even when there are none. It is crystal clear that the Electoral Act does not forbid for a governor or somebody from a governor from contesting if you are a Nigerian by birth, whether you hold dual nationality or not. And that if you listen to that matter, if you follow that matter, some of the issues were not even whether he was a Nigerian, the deputy governor was a Nigerian, but that he pledged allegiance in his application for citizenship, that he pledged allegiance to another country. And that so that disqualifies him from contesting. The issue was not whether he was a Nigerian by birth. Both parties agreed that he was a Nigerian by birth. And then on the issue of the sacrosanct, timeline for electoral matters to be disposed of, some persons will look at it as a technical issue. They say, it's technicality. I've taken time to explain this consistently, that what people understand by technicality in the day-to-day rule, it's the position or the sacrosanct position of the law in electoral matter. That is why we say they are sui generis. Something that ordinarily would be a technical issue, and they'll say, don't base your decision on technicality in other matters. But for Electoral Act, it is not a technical matter, it is the rule. And that is why, if you are the tribunal, for example, and the 180 days for determining that matter lapse, what we do at the tribunal is to simply apply to court to say that this matter has come to an end. Any step taken now becomes an academic exercise. And so to that extent, parties should shake hands and go back home because the timeline for determining that matter had lapsed.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, has expressed willingness to lead a coalition of opposition parties that will wrest power from the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, in 2027. It said this in a congratulatory message to governors of the PDP, whose elections were upheld by the Supreme Court on Friday. In a statement signed by his media office in Abuja, it described the decision of the court as good news for the people of Bauchi, Plateau and Zamfara states, and indeed a win for constitutional democracy. The PDP's presidential candidate also congratulated the governor of Kano State, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, reaffirming his position that only a united opposition force can strengthen democracy in Nigeria. In the statement, Atiku said he is prepared as ever to lead the charge with governors and leaders of the PDP for the good of the country. Barely a month after he lost his bid to be freed from continued detention, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has disbanded his legal team on the notion that the team did not do enough to squash his case and free him from continuous confinement. Apart from the legal team, Kanu is also said to be unhappy with his medical team, which he feels has also not done enough to bring out a convincing medical report that could facilitate transfer of his treatment from the DSS hospital and doctors to his chosen private doctors outside Nigeria. Shedding light on the current state of his health, one of Kanu's legal team representative, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, says reports from an external doctor who conducted an examination during the Christmas period revealed that Nnamdi Kanu is not in good medical condition. The lawyer emphasized the severity of the situation requires urgent attention and cannot be adequately addressed within the medical facilities of the State Security Service.
It's not sound medical wise. Surely before the Christmas during Christmas, he was quickly attended to by the medical doctor. He was also demand to see his medical doctor who came, a senior doctor who came to visit him, and on a number of complaints, serious complaints arising from his medical situation. So this situation demands immediate attention, and these are not issues that can be resolved medical-wise while in the facility of SSS. It's issues that can be resolved when he is freed and possibly not in this country too. So because I wouldn't want to go deep into the details of his medical state because it's a private issue. But what I know is that his medical condition is not such that can be taken care of while in the facility of SSS. It's such that requires his immediate release and also probably being flight overseas to be given the adequate and appropriate medical care it deserved in the circumstances of deteriorating health situation.
President Bola Tinubu has expressed appreciation to the outgoing French ambassador to Nigeria, Emmanuel Blattman, commending an effort in strengthening the diplomatic ties between France and Nigeria. In a statement released by the presidential spokesman Nigerian Ngolale, President Tinubu encouraged Ambassador Blattman to utilize a new role as a director for Africa in the French Foreign Ministry to advocate for an enhanced technical cooperation between the two nations, particularly in addressing the challenges of terrorism and violent extremism. Blattman also spoke to State House journalists on a time in Nigeria.
On the economic side, where France is the second bilateral investor, foreign direct investor in Nigeria. I also mentioned the impressive work that has been done by the French companies who invest here, create companies, farms, vocational training centers, the French companies. I also mentioned, the contributions of the French Agency for Development that is now present in 26 out of the 36 states in Nigeria, and that have invested, over 3 billion euros over the last 10 years. I also mentioned to His Excellency the President, the pride we have taken in supporting the cultural and creative industries, the youth, in many new sectors such as esports, video games, animation. It's been a delight for me to see all these young Nigerian talents thrive and be able to showcase their talent and their skills in abroad, especially in France and in Europe. It's been a series of wonderful experiences, and that's what I told His Excellency the President. And I also mentioned that in my new position as Director for Africa, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I'll be starting to work next week in Paris, I'll make sure that Nigeria stays high on the agenda for France. And His Excellency the President was kind enough to mention the quality and the excellence of our bilateral relations, and said he was looking forward to deepen them in the future.
The federal government has declared its intent to investigate the circumstances leading to the non-operational Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited amassing a substantial 333 billion naira electricity debt. The financial burden prompted the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) to disconnect the company from the national grid. The accumulated debt consists of 30.85 billion naira for energy and capacity supplied by NBET, along with 2.22 billion naira owed to service providers. The Minister of Steel Development, Shaibu Aldo, disclosed this development after a meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja.
Why consumption of so much electricity in a place that is not operating at full capacity? Part of what we also need to do is that we're trying to revive Ajaokuta in a collegiate system, in piecemeal. So we may not have the capacity to be able to pay all those outstanding amounts immediately. Part of what the MD of Ajaokuta told me is that most of that money is in interest payments. And NBET and the electricity company that has disconnected it is also a government agency. So if we as a government ministry, government agency are trying to revive Ajaokuta and working hard to do that, we should not have another hand within the same government making things very difficult for us. So part of what we plan to do is to sit down on the table in the next few days as quickly as possible to be able to come up with a plan so that they can put it back on the grid and put things back in order. It's a gradual process. Ajaokuta cannot be revived overnight. This is an institution. This is a plan that has not been working for 45 years. It's a difficult task to try and get it back on track. So we need the support of the entire government apparatus. We need support of stakeholders. We need support of everyone to be able to do this difficult job. This job is not a job that myself and Mr. President can do alone.
The tragic case of Amarachi Ogochukwu, a 32-year-old female bank employee in Ikorodu, who reportedly took her own life by ingesting an insecticide, has been forwarded to the State Criminal Investigation Department. The incident occurred on Monday within the bank's premises when Ogochukwu locked herself in the restroom and consumed the toxic substance. A colleague discovered a lifeless body after a search was initiated, prompted by the incessant ringing of a phone left unattended on a table. The State Criminal Investigation Department is now tasked with delving into the circumstances surrounding this tragic death. We'll take a break here, but still to come, Dangote Refinery commences operation. Details of the story right after this break. Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, has expressed willingness to lead a coalition of opposition parties that will wrest power from the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC) in 2027. He said this in a congratulatory message to governors of the PDP, whose elections were upheld by the Supreme Court on Friday. In a statement signed by the media office in Abuja, it described the decision of the court as good news for the people of Bauchi, Plateau and Zamfara states, and indeed a win for constitutional democracy. We also told you that the federal government has declared its intent to investigate the circumstances leading to the non-operational Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited amassing a substantial 33 billion naira electricity debt. This financial body prompted the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) to disconnect the company from the national grid. The accumulated debt consists of 30.85 billion naira for energy and capacity supplied by NBET, along with 2.22 billion naira owed to service providers. And in case you missed any of the news bulletin, or for more updates, you can catch us on Lime's World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. The highly anticipated Dangote Refinery, touted as the largest single-train refinery globally, has officially commenced production in Lagos. The refinery initiated operation in its early hours on Friday after the successful delivery of 6 million barrels of crude supply. While the production of premium motor spirit petrol is yet to kick off, the Chief Branding and Communication Officer of Dangote, Anthony Chijiena, confirmed that the refinery has begun producing diesel and aviation fuel. The statement posted on Dangote Group X and Do added that the Dangote Refinery can load 2,900 trucks a day at its truck loading gantries. Built at Africa's largest type, the 650,000 barrel per day Dangote Refinery could be a game changer for Nigeria's economy when fully operational by helping end the country's reliance on fuel imports. President Bola Tinubu has appointed a governing council of the Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund to be domiciled in Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The special advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngulale, disclosed this in a statement titled President Tinubu's Appoint Executive Directors and Governing Council of Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund. According to Ngulale, the President mandated the appointees to discharge their duties by upholding the highest standard of transparency, discipline and patriotism, in line with his administration drive to enhance the role of gas sector in achieving robust and inclusive economic growth for Nigeria. And on the global scene, the United States has launched new strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen for a second straight day after the Iran-aligned group warned it would retaliate for a series of attacks on its facilities. The U.S. Military Central Command said the missiles were fired from U.S. Navy's USS Canary at the Houthi radar site. It described the attack as a follow-on action after the U.S. and the United Kingdom launched a barrage of attacks by land and sea targeting Houthi military sites across Yemen to stop the group from attacking merchant and military vessels in the Red Sea. The Houthis, who have controlled most of Yemen for nearly a decade, said 5 fighters were killed and they promised to continue their attacks on regional shippings. Well, up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Amid the bust-off between Afrobeat singer Davido, his baby mama Sophia Momodu and songstress Tiwa Savage is due to headline the highly anticipated United Masters Grammy Weekend concert. Davido will perform alongside Dominican rapper Tokisha and South African-based DJ artist Uncle Ruffles at the famous event, which will be held on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. Davido's fame surged following the publication of his comeback album Timeless, which has surpassed 1 million streams. The album also received 3 nominations in the 2024 Grammy Awards. Nigerian dancer Kora Obidi has shared on social media that her first daughter June unexpectedly went missing from school. In a live video on Facebook, Kora expressed frustration upon discovering her daughter was gone when she arrived to pick her up. In a distressing revelation, Kora accused her ex-husband Justin Dean of being the main suspect, alleging he kidnapped their daughter during the school day at her new school. This occurred several weeks after Justin Dean, Kora Obidi's ex-husband, made headlines when he said being a single father was easier than marrying his ex-wife. In 2022, Dean accused Kora of adultery, which led to the breakdown of their marriage. And that's it on the entertainment segment of News Now. Okpeyemi Owoshini, TV360 News, Lagos.
And on sport, Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON, starts on Saturday, 13th of January, and the Super Eagles are preparing for their curtain raiser against the Inzalang Nacional of Equatorial Guinea on Sunday at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium, Ebimpe, Cote d'Ivoire. After an agonizing 2-0 loss to the Sail Stars of Guinea in a pre-tournament friendly played at Abu Dhabi, Osapursuere and his team needs a strong start to set the tone for the tournament, and a setback could damage the team's morale and cast a shadow over their title aspirations. Our correspondent Sydney Okafo has more details.
While Nigerians await a favorable outcome in the Super Eagles' first game of the tournament, the build-up to the fiesta has not been exciting as expected because the team has been plagued by injuries worries that has dampened the morale of the football fans who are hoping to see the former champions conquer Africa again. Although Coach Josep Peseiro does not show it, losing 3 of your key players like Wilfred Ndidi in the midfield and Victor Boniface and Sadiq Umar in the attack could weaken the Bravers. Aside Hassan Yusuf, who has joined the team, replacing Wilfred Ndidi, the replacements for Victor Boniface and Umar Sadiq, who are Terry Murphy and Paul Onuachu, are still being awaited in the team's camp. There is a cheering news about Leicester City Kelechi Iheanacho, who will be joining the team on Sunday after recuperating from a muscle injury. Sydney Okafo, TV360, Lagos.
And that wraps up our bulletin on News Now. Many thanks for watching. I'm Tamilore Akinkwole. See you next time.